How evidence-based strategic planning models help. If you are exploring strategic planning processes, whether it's in-house or with a facilitator, you might be going, how are we going to move through this process and get from point A to point Z? And this is where I'm going to tell you a little trick. Look for someone who utilizes an evidence-based strategic planning model. And you may say, what is that? Evidence-based models mean they have been scientifically proven, not just what I like to call the spray and pray approach. We sprayed something out there and prayed something stick, but it's been scientifically proven to get the results that are intended. Now, many of us started in our strategic planning careers, kind of learning as we go. I say lessons learned the hard way. I was an executive director for many years, and I engaged in strategic planning, or what I thought was strategic planning, with my team. It took me many years in my position to realize that some of the things I had picked up along the way were great, and some were really not best practice. It was only when I realized that I needed to bring in an expert who could facilitate an evidence based model so that I could actively participate that things began to change. So, evidence based models for strategic planning, there's lots of them out there. You can Google evidence based models for strategic planning. And they literally, most of them are the same thing. I've looked at a lot of them. They're the same thing because they're designed to say, how does the human brain work? How does planning work? What questions must we answer to get from point A to point Z? And these models walk you through. And once you confirm, with session one, you're able to move on to session two and session three. What tends to happen in strategic planning processes is the client dictates when they want a session, how they want it, what they want in it, and it doesn't always leave room for evidence based models. So I'll give you an example. Funding for Good, we use an evidence-based model called the TOP process. It stands for Technology of Participation, and it's just one of the many models that we explored, and we landed on it because we love it so much. I like to say that an evidence-based model is a gift, regardless of the one you choose. How it's packaged and delivered is very unique to the consultant you select. So just because you choose another consultant, maybe you are exploring top consultants, every single one of those consultants will be using an evidence-based model, but their package and delivery may look a little bit different. So that's important to understand. In an evidence-based model for strategic planning, you're typically going to answer three big questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be on a set date or time period? And how do we get there? And we don't jump around in lots of different orders because one answer to the question helps dictate what the next session will cover. So again, where are we now? Where do we want to be in a set period of time? And how do we get there? Evidence-based models allow for the different personalities in the room. So I may walk in, and if I'm not using evidence-based model, I say, let's jump into dive into goal setting, right? And if I say, okay, what do we want to see in place? All my extroverts are going to raise their hand, or maybe they're not even going to raise their hand. They're just going to jump into the conversation. And my introverts are going to be thoughtfully processing things. And by the time they're ready to share, the conversation's moved on. Evidence-based models not only take into consideration the content that needs to be covered, but the personalities of the participants in the room. I like to say when I'm facilitating strategic planning that there's lots of personalities I'm looking for. I'm looking for my kites. Those are my visionaries. I'm looking for my kite flyers. Those are the people who are grounded and who are kind of the managers and the day-to-day stuff. I look for my introverts and my extroverts. I look for my abrasives and I look for my persuasives. And by utilizing an evidence-based model, I can ensure that everyone in the room gets to share in an equal or equitable way, and that voices are heard in a way that might not happen in a model that's not evidence-based. So again, if you're looking at strategic planning facilitation processes, you're putting out an RFP, be sure to ask, what is the evidence-based model that you use, and how have you adapted it to better serve or customize it to work best with your clients?